Oh boy. Welcome to an incredibly but now it's changed to green Bible Hour. Let's try and brighten this up a bit, shall we, folks? Let's try and brighten this up. That's the same as yesterday. Do that. Close that. Close that. Do that. Let's try and brighten this up a bit. Whoop, not the mic. Welcome to the Bible Hour. Good evening and welcome all. Neil on the admin tonight. From his Apple Mac, no doubt. Neil is an avid Mac user. And we have made it all the way through to 1 Chronicles chapter 22. A bit too bright. How am I sounding, Parker? I mean, we are on plus 10 decibels, so if any crackling, you let me know and I'll drop it. Welcome on into the Bible Hour. It is day 54, the 54th hour of reading the Bible, focusing on Jesus and church. Sounds like me. All right. One Chronicles chapter 22. We hope you've had a good day. Profitable day. A positive day. Bible Hour's favorite car. The red Ferrari. Hello, everybody, says Sue Roberts. 66 days of being on my own. I wish I lived in England. Let's see if Chris Henry has a wing on the side of her house available. Perhaps Bible Hour can serve multiple purposes and put people together. Petty Bois, evening all. Yes, hopefully we can all get out more soon. We have 3 minutes to just type where we might go first when we're allowed out. For some people, it'll be back to the office. For some people, it'll be to the church car park. For other people, it'll be to a restaurant. Paula Barrett, good evening. Today has been hot. It sure has. Park End Church admin. It won't be long now. Chris Williams, good evening all. Team Williams on board. It was funny because you did the prayer, Team Williams, on the Sunday service. As soon as Isaac came on the screen, Levi went. He was ready to fight. He was ready to fight his friendly nemesis. Petty Bar's off to the beach. Chris Henry, Sue Roberts wants to move to England, and we were wondering, do you have a potential flat on the side of your house in which she could stay? While Chris Henry is discussing that with her family members, the rest of us can turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 22. He spent the prayer like this. All right, let's just jump on in. We are not messing about today. It is 1 Chronicles 22. I can't help feeling that it was ironic that those poor people in Pakistan were doing as they were told and staying in an aeroplane landed on their houses. Yeesh. Yep. One Chronicles chapter 22. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Oh, no overnight visitors. Sorry. We'll all be welcome. Wow. We're all heading to Chris Henry's house after this. Here we go. Then David said, "This will be the location for the temple of the Lord God and the place of the altar for Israel's burnt offerings." So here is the answer to that question asked about a week and a half ago. Where did the plans of the temple come from? Well, this one in chapter 28, wasn't it? So David gave orders to call together the foreigners living in Israel, and he assigned them the task of preparing finished stone for building the temple of God. David provided large amounts of iron for the nails that would be needed for the doors in the gates and for the clamps, and he gave more bronze than could be weighed. He also provided innumerable cedar logs, for the men of Tyre and Sidon had brought vast amounts of cedar to David. David said, "My son Solomon is still young and inexperienced, and since the temple to be built for the Lord must be a magnificent structure, famous and glorious throughout the world, I will begin making preparations for it now." So David collected vast amounts of building materials before his death. Morning, North Star. Welcome on in. Then David sent for his son Solomon and instructed him to build a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel. "My son, I wanted to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord my God," David told him. "But the Lord said to me, 'You have killed many men in the battles you have fought, and since you have shed so much blood in my sight, you will not be the one to build a temple to honor my name. But you will have a son who will be a man of peace. I will give him peace with his enemies in all the surrounding names. His name will be Solomon, and I will give peace and quiet to Israel during his reign. He is the one who will build a temple to honor my name. He will be my son, and I will be his father. And I will secure the throne of his kingdom over Israel forever. Now, my son, may the Lord be with you and give you success as you follow his directions in building the temple of the Lord your God. And may the Lord give you wisdom and understanding that you may obey the Lord your God as you rule over Israel. For you will be successful if you carefully obey the decrees and regulations that the Lord gave to Israel through Moses. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or lose heart. I have worked hard to provide materials for building the temple of the Lord. Nearly 4,000 tons of gold, 40,000 tons of silver, and so much iron and bronze that it cannot be weighed. I have also gathered timber and stone for the walls, though you may need to add more. You have a large number of skilled stonemasons and carpenters and craftsmen of every kind. You have expert goldsmiths and silversmiths and workers of bronze and iron. Now, begin the work, and may the Lord be with you. Then David ordered all the leaders of Israel to assist Solomon in this project. The Lord your God is with you, he declared. He has given you peace with the surrounding nations. He has handed them over to me, and they are now subject to the Lord and his people. Now, seek the Lord your God with all of your heart and soul. Build the sanctuary of the Lord God, so that you can bring the ark of the Lord's covenant and the holy vessels of God into the temple built to honor the Lord's name. Welcome on in to the Bible Hour. If you're just trickling on in, welcome. Maybe for the first time, we just read the Bible and we want to know more about Jesus. We want to know more about church, which involves us. And right now, the temple has been ordered to be built. And it is the most magnificent temple that you could fathom. And it's all just to display the glories of the temple of God, Jesus Christ. Unfathomable riches are Jesus. 1 Chronicles chapter 23, duties of the Levites. When David was an old man, he appointed his son Solomon to be king over Israel. David summoned all the leaders of Israel together with the priests and Levites. All the Levites who were 30 years old or older were counted, and the total came to 38,000. Then David said, "From all the Levites, 24,000 will supervise the work at the temple of the Lord. Another 6,000 will work as gatekeepers, and 4,000 will praise the Lord with the musical instruments I have made." Then David divided the Levites into divisions named after the clans descended from the three sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. I like Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Just putting that out there. The Gershonite family units were defined by their lines of descent from Libni and Shimei, the sons of Gershon. Three of the descendants of Libni were Jehiel, the family leader, Jatham, and Joel. These were the leaders of the family of Libni. Three of the descendants of Shimei were Shelomoth, Hazael, and Haran. Four other descendants of Shimei were Jahath, Ziza, Jeush, and Beriah. Jahath was the family leader, and Ziza was next. Jeush and Beriah were counted as a single family because neither had many sons. The Kohathites. Four of the descendants of Kohath were Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The sons of Amram were Aaron and Moses. Aaron and his descendants were set apart to dedicate the most holy things, to offer sacrifices in the Lord's presence, to serve the Lord, and to pronounce blessings in his name forever. As for Moses, the man of God, his sons were included with the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses were Gershom and Eleazar. Gershom, not Gershon. Don't get those mixed up, Bible Hour. The descendants of Gershom included Shebuel, the family leader. Eleazar had only one son, Rehabiah, the family leader. Rehabiah had numerous descendants. The descendants of Izhar included Shelomith, the family leader. The descendants of Hebron included Jeriah, the family leader, Amariah, the second, Jehaziel, the third, and Jekameam, the fourth. The descendants of Uziel included Micah, the family leader, and Ishiah, the second. The Merarites. The descendants of Merari included Mali and Mushi. Hold on a minute. Yeah. The descendants of Merari included Mali and Mushi. The sons of Mali were Eleazar and Kish. Eleazar died with no sons, only daughters. His daughter married their cousins, the sons of Kish. Three of the descendants of Mushi were Mali, Eder, and Jeremoth. These were the descendants of Levi by clans. The leader of their family groups registered carefully by name. Each had to be 20 years old or older to qualify for service in the house of the Lord. For David said, "The Lord, the God of Israel, has given us peace, and he will always live in Jerusalem." Now the Levites will no longer need to carry the tabernacle and its furnishings from place to place. In accordance with David's final instructions, all the Levites 20 years old or older were registered for service. The work of the Levites was to assist the priests, the descendants of Aaron, as they served at the house of the Lord. They also took care of the courtyards and side rooms, helped perform the ceremonies of purification, and served in many other ways in the house of God. They were in charge of the sacred bread that was set out on the table, the choice flour for the grain offerings, the wafers made without yeast, the cakes cooked with olive oil, and the other mixed breads. They were also responsible to check all the weights and measures. And each morning and evening they stood before the Lord to sing songs of thanks and praise to him. They insisted with burnt offerings that they assisted with the burnt offerings that were presented to the Lord on Sabbath days, at new moon celebrations, and at all the appointed festivals. The required number of Levites served in the Lord's presence at all times, following all the procedures they had been given. And so, under the supervision of the priests, the Levites watched over the tabernacle and the temple, and faithfully carried out their duties of service at the house of the Lord. Things are in full swing now in the house of the Lord. Good to hear it. Everything modeled around the priesthood, connecting people to God. 1 Chronicles chapter 24, duties of the priest. This is how Aaron's descendants, the priests, were divided into groups for service. The sons of Aaron were Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died before their father, and they had no sons. So only Eleazar and Ithamar were left to carry on as priests. With the help of Zadok, who was a descendant of Eleazar, and Ahimelech, who was a descendant of Ithamar, David divided Aaron's descendants into groups according to their various duties. Eleazar's descendants were divided into 16 groups and Ithamar's into 8, for there were more family leaders among the descendants of Eleazar. All tasks were assigned to the various groups by means of sacred lots, so that no preference would be shown, for there were many qualified officials serving God in the sanctuary from among the descendants of both Eleazar and Ithamar. Shemaiah, son of Nethanel, a Levite, acted as secretary and wrote down the names and assignments in the presence of the king, the officials, Zadok the priest, Ahimelech son of Abiathar, and the family leaders of priests and Levites. The descendants of Eleazar and Ithamar took turns casting lots. Here we go. The first lot fell to Jehoiarib. The second lot fell to Jedaiah. The third lot fell to Harim. The fourth lot fell to Seorim. The fifth lot fell to Malchijah. The sixth lot fell to Mijamin. The seventh lot fell to Hakaz. The eighth to Abijah. The eighth to Abijah. The ninth to Yeshua. The 10th to Shechaniah. 11th to Elishib. The 12th to Jakim. 13th to Hupah. 14th to Jeshabeab. 15th to Bilgah. 16th to Immer. 17th fell to Hezir. 18th fell to Happy-Zez. He's always happy. The 19th lot fell to Peth-Ahiah. The 20th lot fell to Jehezkel. The 21st lot fell to Jachin. The 22nd lot fell to Gemul. 23rd lot fell to Delilah. The 24th lot fell to Messiah. Each group carried out its appointed duties in the house of the Lord according to the procedures established by their ancestor Aaron, in obedience to the commands of the Lord, the God of Israel. Family leaders from among the Levites. These were the other family leaders descended from Levi. From the descendants of Amram, the leader was Shebuel. From the descendants of Shebuel, the leader was Jedaiah. From the descendants of Rehabiah, the leader was Ishiah. The descendants of Izhar, the leader was Shelemith. From the descendants of Shelemith, the leader was Jahath. From the descendants of Hebron, Jeriah was the leader, Amariah was second, Jahaziel was third, and Jechamiah was fourth. From the descendants of Uziel, the leader was Micah. Or Micah. From the descendants of Micah, the leader was Shamir, along with Ishiah, the brother of Micah. From the descendants of Ishiah, the leader was Zechariah. From the descendants of Merari, the leaders were Mali and Mushi. From the Mali and Mushi, someone in Bible Hour has got to go out and buy 2 dogs and call them Mali and Mushi. You've just got to show how committed you are to Bible Hour. From the descendants of Jasiah, the leader was Beno. From the descendants of Merari through Jazier, the leaders were Beno, Shoham, Zechar, and Ibri. From the descendants of Mali, the leader was Eleazar, though he had no sons. From the descendants of Kish, the leader was Jeremiel. From the descendants of Mushi, the leaders were Mali, Eder, and Jeremoth. These were the descendants of Levi in their various families. Like the descendants of Aaron, Merari rhymes with hey. It is a sign that the Park End eldership should fund a full-size Ferrari, red, for Pastor Owen Batstone. Like the descendants of Aaron, they are assigned to their duties by the means of sacred lots, without regard to age or rank. Lots were drawn in the presence of King David, Zadok, Ahimelech, and the family leaders of the priests and Levites. Church is getting right in order now. Here we go. 1 Chronicles 25. 1 for the art students among us. Duties of the musicians. Here we go. David and the army commanders then appointed men from the families of Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun to proclaim God's messages to the accompaniment of lyres, harps, and cymbals. Here is a list of their names and their work. Sam wants to know how you would react if someone bought you one. Well, I would probably be sick and then tear my clothes in sackcloth and ashes and repentance that I had led people to do such a thing with their money. And before I would return it, I would drive it. Michael Freeman, dogs aren't just for Bible hour. Yeah, you might be right there, Mike. Words of wisdom. So here we are. These are the musicians who would accompany messages from God. From the sons of Asaph, there were Zachar, Joseph, Nethaniah, and Azarellah. They worked under the direction of their father Asaph, who proclaimed God's messages by the king's orders. From the sons of Jeduthun, there were Gedaliah, Zeri, Jeshaiah, Shimi, Hashbiah, and Mattithiah, 6 in all. If anyone is involved in church music here, this is the chapter for you. You want to learn these people's names off by heart. They worked under the direction of their father Jeduthun, who proclaimed God's messages to the accompaniment of the lyre, offering thanks and praises to God. From the sons of Heman, there were Bukiah, Mattaniah, Uziel, Shubael, Jeremoth, Hananiah, Hanani, Eliatha, Gadalti, Romamti-Ezer, Josh-Bekshah, Malathi, Hotir, and Mahazioth. All these were the sons of Heman, the king's seer, for God had honored him with 14 sons and 3 daughters. All these men were under direction of their fathers as they made music at the house of the Lord. Special quiz round for you, Richard, at the party. Yep. Their responsibilities included the playing of cymbals, harps, and lyres at the house of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman reported directly to the king. They and their families were all trained in making music before the Lord, and each of them, 288 in all, was an accomplished musician. What an aesthetic thing this would have been. You would have been stirred, body, mind, and soul, coming into this place. The musicians were appointed to their term of service by means of sacred lots, without regard to whether they were young or old, teacher or student. What, they didn't have a committee? The first lot fell to Joseph of the Asaph clan and 12 of his sons and relatives. The second lot fell to Gedaliah, 12 sons and relatives. The third lot fell to Zachar and 12 of his sons and relatives. The fourth lot fell to Zeri and 12 of his sons and relatives. The fifth lot fell to Nethaniah and 12 of his sons and relatives. The sixth lot fell to Bukiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Seventh lot fell to Azareliah, the 12 of his sons and relatives. The eighth lot fell to Jeshaiah, the 12 of his sons and relatives. The ninth lot to Mattaniah, the 12 sons and his relatives. The 10th lot to Shimi, the 12 of his sons and relatives. The 11th lot fell to Uziel, the 12 of his sons and relatives. The 12th lot fell to Heshabiah, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 13th lot fell to Shebuel, the 12 sons of his relatives and sons. And 14th lot fell to Mattaniah, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 15th lot fell to Jeremoth, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 16th lot fell to Hananiah, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 17th lot fell to Josh-Bekshah, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 18th lot fell to Hanani, and 12 sons of his sons and relatives. And 19th lot fell to Malathi, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 20th lot fell to Eliatha and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 21st lot fell to Hothir and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 22nd lot fell to Gidalti and 12 of his sons and relatives. The 23rd lot fell to Mahazioth and 12 of his sons and relatives. And the 24th lot fell to Romamti-Ezer and 12 of his sons and relatives. Ricky B, you don't need accomplished musicians to play the cymbals. That's what drummers are for. Shots fired. You shall go out with joy. Who is Joy? Wait, who did the 12th lot go to? I missed it. All right, here we go. Ajabaya. I don't know if you know this, but if you read the King James Version of the Bible and you get a chapter in Ezekiel that we're going to, 28 is it? Anyway, Satan, when he was Lucifer before he fell and that stuff, was actually had all manner of musical instruments that he was in charge of. It doesn't come through well in the other version, so I'll be sure to get the Park End admin to work then. And it's like music is such a powerful thing. And what better tool for the enemy to use to keep people from coming to Jesus than music? Looks like Satan knows music backwards. He knows how to stir people up the wrong way against God. You know that saying, let me write the songs of a nation and I care not who writes its laws. Music can be more powerful than even the politicians writing laws. If you get a movement of people following musicians, their voice is so powerful. But before all that, music is from God himself. So all of this, I mean, musicians get chapters dedicated to them in the Bible. And how many psalms are just for the chief musician and just surrounded with music and power. So basically, church is to just claim back music because we make the best music. The Hebrew Bible and the Psalms, it's got to be the best music ever made. If you get spirit-filled musicians, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than Treorchy male voice choir as they sing songs to Jesus. Christian musicians, claim the ground back for Satan. Make good music for Jesus. Park End Church, they're good at music. Larry Norman, why should the devil have all the good music? That sounds like a book. I wonder who thought it would be riveting to make a list of all these names. The Lord! He loves musicians. They're all going to be there playing in the New Heavens and the New Earth band, aren't they? With some grumpy people in the corner that just wanted an organ. Maybe there'll be separate rooms. The organ lot will be there with the spirit-filled organist praising Jesus, and in the separate room over there will be the louder ones, all the youngsters, the rabble. Take a break. It is 9:30 British time. We'll be back in 57 seconds. Richard Barrett, it's a song covered by Cliff Richard well before your time. The young ones, darling, you're the young ones, and the young ones shouldn't be afraid to live young. Well, the days are young. La, 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 la. Interesting fact about the Bible Hour gang, Michael Freeman is in the chat and he is a drummer. My wife went to the shop today and did not buy me some cheese with cranberries, so I've had to have nuts to give me fuel for this session. Maybe that's what you're opting for now for the second half of Bible Hour. Cliff Richard's all right. Fair play to him. He stood for Jesus as best as he could, it looks like. But if there is anyone who has given the Christian religion a sappy image, it's got to be him. I mean, isn't he the ultimate drip? Isn't he? Or did I just lose half the audience? All right, let's jump back in. Welcome on back for the second half. It is 1 Chronicles chapter 26. Duties of the gatekeepers. These are... Oh, hold on. All right, you're all chatting about Cliff Richard songs by the sound of it. Oh, chocolate nuts. Right, got it. These are the divisions of the gatekeepers. Does Sue Williams in From Park End like Cliff Richard? Oh, boy. From the Korahites, there was Meshelemiah. So these are the gatekeepers, by the way. We've done musicians, let's do gatekeepers. Meshelemiah, son of Kor, from the family of Abiasaph. The sons of Meshelemiah were Zechariah the oldest, Jediael the second, Zebediah the third, Jathniel the fourth, Elam the fifth, Jehonan the sixth, and Elihoenai the seventh. I don't believe that Sue Williams, who married into a Burley rugby family, looks to Cliff Richard as any sort of guidance for masculinity. I don't buy it. He's a drip. He is a roller skating drip. But my brother in Jesus. The sons of Obed-Edom, also gatekeepers, were Shemaiah the oldest, Jehozabad the second, Joah the third, Sakkar the fourth, Nethanel the fifth, Amiel the sixth, Issachar the seventh, and Peuleuthitai the eighth. God had richly blessed Obed-Edom. Richard Barrett, but he's a great singer. Hey, I'm with you on that. William Booth, Salvation Army, why should the devil have all the best tunes? Dave may agree with you on that. Chris Williams. Dave. Yeah, of course. Obed-Edom's son, Shemaiah, has sons with great ability who earn positions of great authority in the clan. Their names were Othni, Rephael, Obed, and Alzabad. Their relatives, Elihu and Semachiah, were also very capable men. All of these descendants of Obed-Edom, including their sons and grandsons, 62 of them in all, were very capable men, well qualified for their work. Meshelemiah's 18 sons and relatives were also very capable men. Hosea of the Merari clan appointed Shimri as the leader among his sons, though he was not the oldest. His other sons included Hilkiah the second, Tebaliah the third, and Zechariah the fourth. Hosea's sons and relatives, who served as gatekeepers, numbered 13 in all. Chat is still going on. It's kicked off about Cliff Richard. I like Cliff Richard in capitals. And Buddy Holly's making an appearance now. Hey, I don't dislike Cliff Richard. I don't know him. But I'm telling you, he's a sap. He is a roller skated sap. And the problem with a lot of men in Christian circles at the moment is they're not men, they're saps. And that's why the women don't like them anymore. Like, they're effeminate saps. Creepy, wet, effeminate saps. That's like 60% of Christian men at the moment. I don't know what's happening, but I blame Cliff Richard. There, I said it. These divisions of the gatekeepers were named for their family leaders, and like the other Levites, they served at the house of the Lord. They were assigned by families for guard duty in the various gates without regard to age or training, for it was all decided by means of sacred lots. The responsibility for the east gate went to Meshelemiah and his group. The north gate was assigned to his son Zechariah, a man of unusual wisdom. The south gate went to Obed-Edom, and his sons were put in charge of the storehouse. All I can see on the left of the Bible is chat scrolling down with more comments. We've never had such an eruption in chat. I like Cliff Richard, says Petty Boss. Scored an own goal there, says Owen. When I was 14, my father thought that Cliff Richard was the devil incarnate. And on 6-5 special. So true. So many boys in Christianity, isn't it? Isn't it? No stars with me. I'm moving to New Zealand where they've got common sense. The responsibility for the east gate went to Meshelemiah and his group. The north gate was assigned to his son Zechariah, a man of unusual wisdom. South gate went to Obed-Edom, and his sons were put in charge of the storehouse. Shupim and Hosea were assigned the west gate and the gateway leading up to the temple. Guard duties were divided evenly. 6 Levites were assigned each day to the east gate, 4 to the north gate, 4 to the south gate, and 2 pairs at the storehouse. 6 were assigned each day to the west gate, 4 to the gateway leading up to the temple, and 2 to the courtyard. These were the divisions of the gatekeepers from the clans of Korah and Merari. Other Levites, led by Ahijah, were in charge of the treasuries of the house of God and the treasuries of the gifts dedicated to the Lord. From the family of Libni in the clan of Gershon, Jehiel was the leader. The sons of Jehiel, Zetham, and his brother Joel were in charge of the treasuries of the house of the Lord. These are the leaders that descended from Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. From the clan of Amram, Shubiel was a descendant of Gershom, son of Moses. He was the chief officer of the treasuries. His relatives through Eleazar were Rehabiah, Jeshaiah, Joram, Zikri, and Shelomoth. Shelomoth and his relatives were in charge of the treasuries containing the gifts that King David, the family leaders, and the generals and captains and other officers of the army had dedicated to the Lord. These men dedicated some of the plunder they had gained in battle to maintain the house of the Lord. Shelomoth and his relatives also cared for the gifts dedicated to the Lord by Samuel the seer, Saul, son of Kish, Abner, son of Ner, and Joab, son of Zeruiah. All the other dedicated gifts were in their care too. Sue Roberts, he's not camped like some petty. Well, no, I agree, Sue. Yeah. From the clan of Izhar came Kenaniah. He and his sons were given administrative responsibilities over Israel as officials and judges. There you go, one for church admin. They get mention. From the clan of Hebron came Hezekiah. He and his relatives, 1,700 capable men, were put in charge of the Israelite lands west of the Jordan River. It is good that the Lord cares about officials and judges and appoints them even within the life of the church, because the Lord is all about justice. Church is a refuge for justice, honesty, protection. Day 54, aka Cliffgate. Yeah, this one's not going to be uploaded after, is it? This is going to be lost in the underground archives with other controversial Park End moments. Church is where justice is lived out. From the clan of Hebron came Hashabiah. He and his relatives, 1,700 capable men, were put in charge of the Israelite lands west of the Jordan River. They were responsible for all matters that related to the things of the Lord and the service of the king in that area. Also, from the clan of Hebron came Jeriah, who was the leader of the Hebronites according to the genealogical records. In the 40th year of David's reign, a search was made in the records, and capable men from the clan of Hebron were found at Jazer in the land of Gilead. There were 2,700 capable men among the relatives of Jeriah. King David sent them to the east side of the Jordan River and put them in charge of the clans of Reuben and Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh. They were responsible for all matters related to God and to the king. No wonder Cliff Richard left the UK. I can't believe we only have 6 days left. We're bang on target. We'll have like 3 days spare at the end. Don't worry about that. Justice and mercy. If only John May was about to regale us of the time camping with Cliff. Sing songs around the campfire. Who remembers Frank Ifield? I remember you. Yeah, sorry. Just on that, it's interesting, right, that different leaders are getting different chapters, indicating that whatever job the person was assigned to, it literally took their whole person and effort and being. And I wonder if there's something there to not be a jack of all trades, master of none. And literally, in a prosperous, healthy church, people get on with their specific fields. Yes, relating to others occasionally, communicating, but there do seem to be people are raised up with special abilities and character traits and then committed to a role. So don't worry if you can't do everything in church. You're not supposed to. It is 1 Chronicles chapter 27. I don't know if you ever find this as we approach chapter 27, but when a country is like super ready for war, it actually brings quite a sense of security and peace because we know that there are armed forces. And I think in a similar way, what you find is with like spiritual attacks and things is it's when people are unwatchful and not ready and not guarded in the armor of the Lord. Check that out in this chapter. It's also interesting that like you can almost know a person by who they go to for advice. Like if you can learn a lot about someone and their worldview on who they will go to for advice. It's interesting that David in this coming chapter has loads of people that he could turn to, but he goes to someone else. Check that out. This is good. Chat has scrolled so fast, I can't even read it anymore. It's gone like I've missed bits. It's probably still about Cliff Richard, people thrashing out Batstone's controversial statement. This is the list of Israelite generals and captains and their officers who served the king by supervising the army divisions that were on duty each month of the year. Each division served for 1 month and had 24,000 troops. What I should do is clip that Cliff Richard rant and upload it as one of our little things and just watch the people leave. There'd be a mass exodus on the Facebook page. Jeshobeam, son of Zabdiel, was commander of the 1st Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the first month. He was a descendant of Perez and was in charge of all the army officers for the first month. Dodai, a descendant of Ahoah, was a commander of the 2nd Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the second month. Mikloth was his chief officer. Any Park End or church leaders should be, your brain should be going now as we're reading through this division of sort of roles. Could we be doing better? Ben Aiah, son of Jehoiada, the priest, was commander of the 3rd Division, 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 3rd month. This was the Ben Aiah who commanded David's elite military group, known as the 30. His son, Amizabad, was his chief officer. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was commander of the 4th Division, 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 4th month. Asahel was succeeded by his son Zebediah. I mean, we're dealing here with a seriously well-equipped ancient church. And we're told in Ephesians to put on the armor of God. Trust in the Lord and keep your gunpowder dry or something, isn't it? Shema, the Ezraite, was commander of the 5th Division, 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 5th month. Ira, son of Ikesh from Tekoa, was commander of the 6th Division of 24,000 troops, which was during the 6th month. 5th month. That one was the 6th month, sorry. Helez, a descendant of Ephraim from Pelon, was commander of the 7th Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 7th month. Sebekai, a descendant of Zerah from Husha, was a commander of the 8th Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 8th month. Ebiezer from Ananoth in the territory of Benjamin was the commander of the 9th Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 9th month. Mehariai, a descendant of Zerah from Netophah, was a commander of the 10th Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty in the 10th month. Benaniah from Pirathon and Ephraim was commander of the 11th Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 11th month. Heled, a descendant of Othniel from Netophah, was commander of the 12th Division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 12th month. Wow, my chat is still going. Hold on a minute. Let me see. Our generation are the best music. I reckon if you were around in the temple days with the Psalms, they give us a run for their money. Nick Hawkins, my generation. Tommy Steele. Richard Barrett, whatever he said was taken down, such as maybe he had a go at Cliff. Yes. Richard Barrett. My air. Oh yeah, retract his statement. Yes, you're going to have 24,000 troops to prove myself as a church leader. I will work on that for you, Richard Barrett. Now, the chat today has gone to prove that nothing gets people going quite like there's two things: food and music. And today, music has proved it. Isn't music just the most powerful and emotive thing? No, what? This is why church leaders get their own chapter, because they're so mightily used. And then food and diets. If you want to really drop a grenade, tell people that you're on a diet and then go into it and just watch the room explode. That's why in the New Testament, church, there's tons of chapters about stop falling out over diets. All right, I'm getting back to this. Verse 16, the following were the tribes of Israel and their leaders. Tribe, Reuben. Leader, Eleazar, son of Zikri. Oh no, it's gone wonky again. Tribe, Simeon, Shephatiah, son of Makkah. Levi, Hashabiah, son of Kemuel. Aaron, the priest, Zadok. Judah, Elihu, brother of David. Issachar, Omri, son of Michael. Zebulun, Ishmaiah, son of Obadiah. Naphtali, Jeremoth, son of Azriel. Uh-oh, my Bible doesn't work. Yep. Ephraim, Hosea, son of Aziziah. Manasseh, west. Joel of Pedadiah. Manasseh in Gilead east. Edo, son of Zechariah. Benjamin, Jasiel of Abner. Dan, Azarel of Jeroham. These were the leaders of the tribes of Israel. When David took his census, he did not count those who were younger than 20 years of age, because the Lord had promised to make the Israelites as numerous as the stars in heaven. Joab, son of Zeruiah, began the census but never finished it, because the anger of God fell on Israel. The total number was never recorded in King's official records. As there seems to be, as music has come up today, and music leaders, particularly in the ancient church, do make a point of praying for church musicians, because they are under major pressure. Because we've seen tonight, even people think their generations was the best of stuff and it's all in good spirits, but actually people can get quite nasty about that when we bring in a spiritual side to it, and it's like, no, my generation leads us to Jesus, your generation leads us away. It's like, sheesh kebabs. And this is an area where we have to be so careful in. So do pray for your church musicians, and try and support them or something. And if you want to get into proper theology about play some musical instruments. I've actually written something on it, and I'd be happy to email that out. I must have read about 50 books, literally cover to cover, about music in church and theology of music. And you would not believe how many of them were weighted in bias and subtle biases, as they came to write their book with a preconceived idea of what godly music was, and it just came through. And they handled text, they manipulated the Bible, I think, to back up what they wanted to say. So yeah, anyway, it's a spicy meatball, that one. So pray for your musicians. They can be mightily used for God. They do come under a lot of attack from balloon head church members. And if you want to get into like deep stuff about it, I'd happily engage with you on it if you're wrestling through the theology of all that stuff and the work of the Spirit with music and that type of stuff. Ferraris, yeah, Ferraris coming my way. Good. Oh, we've moved now onto Aston Martin. We're onto cars here. Yeesh, kebabs. There's no car chapters in the Bible. Verse 25. Asmaveth, son of Adl, was in charge of the palace treasuries. Jonathan, son of Uzziah, was in charge of the regional treasuries throughout the towns, villages, and fortresses of Israel. Chris Cyril was in charge of the regional treasuries throughout the towns, villages, and fortresses of Israel. Esri, son of Caleb, was in charge of the field workers who farmed in the king's lands. That's Andy Webb. Shimei was from Ramah, was in charge of the king's vineyards. I'll do that one. Sabdian Shepham was responsible for the grapes and supplies of wine. Oh, I thought that's what the last one meant. Baal Hanan from Gida was in charge of the king's olive groves and sycamore fig trees in the foothills of Judah. Joash was responsible for the supplies of olive oil. How important was that one? The supplies of oil. We know what that symbolizes. Shitrai from Sharon was in charge of the cattle on Sharon Plain. Shaphat, son of Adlai, was responsible for the cattle in the valleys. Like the cattle? How important is that? The sacrifices and the food. Obil, the Ishmaelite, was in charge of the camels. Jediah from Maronoth was in charge of donkeys. Jazes, the Hagrite, was in charge of the king's flocks of sheep and goats. All these officials were overseers of King David's property. Jonathan, David's uncle, was a wise counselor to the king, a man of great insight, and a scribe. Jehiel, the Hekimite, was responsible for the teaching of the king's sons. Ahithophel was the royal advisor. Hushai, the Archite, was the king's friend. Ahithophel was succeeded by Jehoiada, son of Ben-Aiah, and by Abiathar. Joab was commander of the king's army. Hagrid, wasn't he in Harry Potter? Pass. Don't know. We're on the home straight. 1 Chronicles chapter 28. Here comes the most glorious church building arguably ever made. David summoned all the officials of Israel to Jerusalem, the leaders of the tribes, the commanders of the army divisions, the other generals and captains, the overseers of the royal property and livestock, the palace officials, the mighty men, and all other brave warriors in the kingdom. David rose to his feet and said, "My brothers and my people, it was my desire to build a temple where the ark of the Lord's covenant, God's footstool, could rest permanently. I made the necessary preparations for building it, but God said to me, 'You must not build a temple to honor my name, for you are a warrior and have shed much blood.'" I love our musicians as long as they don't keep on playing Be Thou My Vision every other week. There we go. Sue Roberts fires shots at Be Thou My Vision. That's worse than me taking shots at Cliff Richard. Yet the Lord, the God of Israel, has chosen me from among all my father's family to be king over Israel forever. For he has chosen the tribe of Judah to rule, and from among the families of Judah he chose my father's family. And from among my father's sons the Lord was pleased to make me king over all Israel. And from among my sons, for the Lord has given me many, he chose Solomon to succeed me on the throne of Israel and to rule over the Lord's kingdom. He said to me, your son Solomon will build my temple and its courtyards, for I have chosen him as my son, and I will be his father. And if he continues to obey my commands and regulations as he does now, I will make his kingdom last forever. So now, with God as our witness, and in the sight of all Israel, the Lord's assembly, I give you this charge. Be careful to obey all the commands of the Lord your God, so that you may continue to possess this good land and leave it to your children as a permanent inheritance. And Solomon, my son, learn to know the God of your ancestors intimately. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and a willing mind. For the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and every plan. Every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him. What a verse that is. For the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. So take this seriously. The Lord has chosen you to build a temple as his sanctuary. Be strong and do the work. Then David gave Solomon the plans for the temple and its surroundings, including entry room, the store rooms, the upstairs rooms, the inner rooms, and the inner sanctuary, which was the place of the atonement. David also gave Solomon all the plans he had in mind for the courtyards of the Lord's temple, the outside rooms, the treasuries, the rooms for the gifts dedicated to the Lord. The king also gave Solomon the instructions concerning the work of the various divisions of priests and Levites in the temple of the Lord. And he gave specifications from the items in the temple that were to be used for worship. David gave instructions regarding how much gold and silver should be used to make the items needed for each service. He told Solomon about the gold needed for the gold lampstands and lamps, and the amount of silver from the silver lampstands and lamps, depending on how each would be used. He designated the amount of gold for the table on which the bread of presence would be placed, and the amount of silver for other tables. Chris Williams, what if we had Cliff Richard singing it? How about Brother, Sister, Let Me Serve You? Good tune, lovely words. We'll look into it. David also designated the amount of gold for the solid gold meat hooks used to handle the sacrificial meat, and for the basins, pitchers, and dishes, as well as the amount of silver for every dish. He designated the amount of refined gold for the altar of incense. Finally, he gave him a plan for the Lord's chariot, the gold cherubim whose wings were stretched out over the ark of the covenant. Every part of his plan, David told Solomon, was given to me in writing from the hand of the Lord. Chris Henry, that is the answer to your question, your good question about 2 weeks ago, verse 19 of 1 Chronicles chapter 28. Every part of his plan, David told Solomon, was given to me in writing from the hand of the Lord. There it is. Yep. Then David continued, "Be strong and courageous and do the work. Don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, is with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. He will see to it that all the work related to the temple of the Lord is finished correctly. The various divisions of priests and Levites will serve in the temple of God. Others with skills of every kind will volunteer, and the officials and entire nation are at your command." What a question, Chris Henry, that the Lord went actually out of his way to put a verse there so we all know that bit of truth, that he designed this temple. Why? And we close with this at 10 p.m. Because when this person, this man, God himself, said, "My body is the temple," all of this is to just display the unspeakable riches about this man and who he is, and that he is there for us tonight. Whatever we're going through, he is there, and he can deliver us from all deathly things. Hallelujah. What a savior. We've also learned that church is a place of order and roles which take commitment according to our gifts, personalities, godliness, and that music, when stolen back, taken back from the evil one, is best done in church, praising the Lord. Glory to God. We will see y'all, God willing, tomorrow at 9 p.m. British Standard Time.